Imagine it. An air raid siren cuts through the noise of the city. A distant shockwave rattles your window, maybe even shatters it. What you choose to do in the next 60 minutes, well, that's going to determine if your family makes it through. So let's get right into it, that critical first hour of an urban crisis. What's the very first thing you do? I bet for most of us, it's grabbing our phone, right? You want to check the news, call your family, but that's a fatal mistake. In a modern conflict, your most normal human instincts are now the most dangerous things you can possibly do. And this is exactly why it's so important to get this right. See, it's not soldiers who bear the brunt of modern warfare anymore. It's civilians. Nearly 90% of all casualties are regular people, often because they're just completely unprepared for that initial paralyzing chaos. You know, the first enemy you have to fight isn't outside your door. It's right between your ears. It's something called normalcy bias. It's that little voice in your head that says, this can't really be happening. And that voice makes you freeze. It makes you watch, and it makes you waste precious seconds and minutes you can never, ever get back. Overcoming that mental paralysis, that's your first win. Okay, so within those first 60 seconds, you have to make one single decision. And literally every single action that follows is going to hinge on this one call. There is no time for a debate. And here it is, the core choice. Do you stay or do you go? The logic here is brutal, and it's simple. If you live within 10 miles of a primary target, think military bases, major government buildings, power hubs, even dense city centers, you have to get out immediately. But if you're in a quieter suburb or maybe a heavily reinforced concrete building, your best odds are to shelter in place. You have to make that call and you have to commit to it instantly. All right, you've made your choice. Now, the very next step is going to feel completely wrong in our modern world. You have to disappear. You have to go digitally dark. That smartphone, the device that connects you to everything, it's now a liability. It's basically a beacon broadcasting your location, making you an incredibly easy target for surveillance or worse. Besides, the networks are going to get jammed anyway. An emergency radio, on the other hand, is a secure lifeline. It lets you receive verified updates without transmitting your position. One paints a target on your back, the other is a vital tool. So, you've handled the immediate digital threat. Your mind might jump straight to food, or maybe weapons. That's a mistake. The most immediate threat to your life is something much, much more basic. This isn't a suggestion, it's a hard biological deadline. A person can survive for weeks without food, but without water, 3 days. That's about it. After that, your organs just start to shut down. This makes water your absolute #1 priority, period. So where do you find a massive supply of it in a hurry? Look no further than your own home. A standard bathtub can hold around 80 gallons of water. For 2 adults, that's a 40-day supply. It is the single greatest resource you have in the first few minutes of a crisis. So let's be crystal clear. Your very first physical action isn't barricading a door. It's not packing a bag. It is opening every single tap in your house and filling every container you have. The tub, pots, pans, buckets, anything. Municipal water is often the very first utility to be targeted or shut down. That means this window to act might only last a few precious minutes. Okay, let's follow the first path. For those of you whose decision was to evacuate, here's the protocol. Remember, the clock is ticking against you. If you fail to prepare an emergency bag beforehand, you have got to be ruthless. You follow what's called the 8-minute scavenging rule, and the order is non-negotiable. First, water, then any life-saving medications, followed by ID and critical documents, then hard cash, dense, high-calorie food, and something for warmth come last. Oh, and grab a basic trauma kit if you have one. Everything else, it gets left behind. Things are replaceable, time is not. So how do you get out? The herd instinct, every fiber of your being, is going to scream at you to take the main highway. Don't do it. That is a death trap. Within minutes, it becomes a gridlocked, vulnerable parking lot. Your only reliable tool is an old-school paper map. You need to have pre-planned routes using obscure back roads, service paths, maybe even railway lines. When the GPS is jammed and everyone else is stuck, that paper map is what keeps you moving. Now let's switch to the second path. What if your decision was to shelter in place? This is where you need to stop thinking about firearms and start thinking about physics. See, the biggest danger inside your home isn't the explosion itself. It's something called blast overpressure. It's an invisible shockwave that moves faster than sound. It's what turns windows and even weak walls into thousands of tiny, deadly projectiles. Your goal is to put as much mass as you possibly can between your family and that wave. So where do you go? Well, the safest room in a typical home is usually the most central interior bathroom. Why? Simple. No windows to shatter into shrapnel. There's a dense network of metal and PVC pipes inside the walls, which actually reinforces them against collapse. It basically becomes your personal blast-resistant zone. Get your family in there and stay low to the ground. Okay, the physical scramble is winding down. The dust is maybe starting to settle. Now, the psychological war begins. You have to manage your family, and most importantly, you have to manage the flow of information. Panic and separation, they are deadly forces. You need an unbreakable communication protocol, and it has to be established before a crisis hits. Pick a specific, immovable rally point, not a friend's house that could be gone, but a landmark. Have a strict comms window, phones on only at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. for a brief, under 20-word text. That's it. And your only source of new information is that emergency radio. No rumors, no hearsay. This stuff is not negotiable. In this situation, you have to be the leader. Your job is to ruthlessly control the information your family consumes. You provide one verified update from the radio, say, every 30 minutes. You have to project calm authority, even if you don't feel it. And you maintain a routine. Uncertainty is what breeds panic. Your leadership, your calm, that's their psychological armor. Look, the actions we've just walked through, making that split-second decision, securing water, navigating with a map, leading your family, they aren't things you can just improvise. The first hour is won or lost long before it ever begins. It's won through mental rehearsal and preparation. Practicing these steps as a family drill ensures everyone knows their role, and it crushes that deadly panic before it starts. So the only question left is, how will you prepare?